Amanda here from createyourfuture.co. So today we have Carol joining us. Hi, Carol.
Hi, everybody.
Guys, we have an exciting video. You guys have been asking and requesting for an explanation on tarot card reading and psychics, for like, I would say 3 years now. So we are going to talk about that in relation to everyone as you pushed out, as well as we have a success story from one of Carol's clients, because we want to make sure that we feel good and everyone loves success stories. So we're definitely going to read the success story, and then we're going to go into how to find your blogs, everyone as you pushed out, as well as tarot cards and psychics. So welcome, Carol.
Thank you for
Amazing.
having me. Okay, so this client, she scheduled an appointment with me. It was like a very impromptu appointment because at that moment when I met her for the first time, her boyfriend told her that, he wanted to end things, and he actually asked her to go pick up her stuff from his apartment that very same day. She was feeling horrible about it. She was distraught, and she scheduled the appointment. And we worked on the story, worked on what happened, on or her assumptions about the situation, and we worked on changing the story around to deciding that she is, she wants him to stay. He wants her to keep her stuff there because she is his home, and he's just at work wanting to come home to see her, and the relationship is perfect. We worked on affirmations also about self-concept, what she means to him, how she sees herself in this relationship, and how important she is in his eyes, and what she brings to the table. This entire time she was very, very excited about it. And then she said, okay, so should I just go home and pretend like nothing happened? Because that's exactly what I want to do right now. Well, that's what you want to do. Go ahead, go home. And she's like, okay, fine. So she went home, she took a nap, she affirmed, and then he got off work. And he just called her like nothing ever happened. Like, what's going on? What are you doing tonight? Let's meet up. Let's hang out. And she was like, okay. So she never took the stuff out of the apartment. They never talked about it either. The relationship is perfect. I saw her a few days ago, and she just pretty much said the relationship is actually better than ever. We're now talking about marriage. So it just evolved, and she was able to turn it around within hours.
That's so amazing. I love that. Everyone's you pushed out. So, if you want to get over a fight quickly, you get over it. And then they're going to get over it because they're you pushed out. You know what I mean? You want to manifest an apology, get to the point of feeling apologetic yourself regarding that situation, and they'll get into that state, and then they'll apologize to you, right? Because everyone is you pushed out, right? But I mean, as long as you think it's not a big deal and everybody's over it, then it's not a big deal. Everybody's over it, like how amazing is that? Like,
Exactly. And another thing, and another way that I like to also process the apology, because a lot of times when somebody wants an apology, it's because they feel hurt, and they have that resentment. They're still holding on to that. So
right.
I always ask, like, what would the relationship look like after the apology? What do you want to feel? What would that apology do to this relationship? Of course, in a positive way. And many times they talk about bonding, they talk about respect, they talk about connection, they talk about getting through everything together as a team. Like, those are the answers that you usually get after you get over that hump in a relationship. So, well, I always say affirm that instead. Affirm that about the relationship, and the apology might come along. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but you still want to have that connection, that bonding, that respect, that communication in the relationship anyways.
Well, you know what, and you nailed it, right? So, when you want that apology, you're holding on resentment. You're definitely emotionally attached to the hurt and the resentment, and you want that resolved. And as long as you're holding that, you're never going to get that apology, because, like I said, you've got to get into that apologetic state. How do you get into that apologetic state? Affirmations, intentions. Because remember, your thoughts create your emotions, right? So, and once you get to that state, they're going to reflect it back. And just like Carol said, get to where you want the relationship to be. I mean, that's how you end up creating it, right? And yeah, as long as we're not so emotionally attached. No, excellent advice. I love that. I love that. So now we're talking about blogs. So, a blog, guys, is something, that is going to, okay, so a block is a thought contrary to what your goal is. Okay. So let's say that my goal is, you know, to, I don't know, to be in a relationship with Jerry. Okay. So now let's say, for instance, I've got this thought that Jerry doesn't like me. Okay. That thought that Jerry doesn't like me is a block to me being in a relationship with Jerry, because Jerry has to like me to want to be in a relationship with me. So that's what a block is. And that's what resistance is as well. Because block and resistance is the same thing. So that brings us to tarot card readings. Okay. And psychics. Okay. So tarot card readings and psychics, I mean, you know what, they're used to figure out your future, right? Well, guess what? You're the god of your reality, and you're the creator of your life. So tarot cards and psychics can't tell you your future, because you're the one that can actually create your future and change your future. So, you know, one time I had a tarot card reading, and I actually sat there and I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, I intend to get this card and it says this. I intend to get that card and it says this. And I intend to get, and so guess what? My friend, she had popped out those 3 cards. Like, I've got friends that are tarot card readers, like no big deal, right? So then I was like, hey, I'm like, everyone's you pushed out, it still works, right? I mean, you know, so that's what, you know, was in my situation for a tarot card reader. It's not showing me my blocks. It was just basically what I intended would show up. Whatever's on my mind is going to be reflected back. Same thing with the psychic. I went in there, right, because we're at their psychic reader, and I was like, oh, cool. I'm like, I'm going to get my future told. And I said, I'm going to intend that she tells me that. I'm like, you know, I got this YouTube channel, and because I had my business at the time, and that, you know, and like, that we're going to be great and have a bunch of coaches, right? So she said exactly what I intended her to say, right? So, you know, they're just a reflecting back what thoughts are on your mind. They can't tell you anything you don't already know and that you haven't already created within you. So they're not going to exactly tell you your blocks, because your blocks are only in a relation to what you want, and they're your thoughts. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. I always say, I think this is really important, because somehow it has come up during many of my sessions. And of course, like, I've seen people commenting on it as well. You know, sometimes people go to choose different ones and they get different opinions, so which one's right? And my answer is always the same. Who do you think is right? Who do you think is telling you what you want to hear? Who do you think is giving you the feedback that works for you, so that you continue affirming that feedback? And if it doesn't work for you, then affirm the opposite. But at the end of the day, you're the one deciding if that feedback that you're getting from that person works for you or not. And I think that many times, you know, we need to keep in mind that from the moment you even think of making the appointment, or from the moment you're on your way you're walking over, you're in the car, you're on your way to see this person, to have the appointment with this person, you already have a preconceived notion of what might happen. You're already creating in your mind. So it's just a matter of whatever they tell you, whatever it is that they are giving you, you are still deciding if you want to keep that or not, if you're going to discard it or you're going to continue affirming. I mean, if they tell you, oh, this guy's the love of your life, he's going to ask you to to marry him this year, by all means, affirm that. But it is you that's creating it. It's not the person that just told you.
Right. Exactly. But it's no different than watching a commercial on TV and seeing like 2 people get married and affirming, oh, because I've seen this commercial, it's going to happen to me. It's really no different than that. But then that's good, right? It's like, but it's just creating it as a sign. Now, the thing is, right, is I've heard people say, well, I use the psychic or the tarot cards to tell me what my block is. But they can't. And again, now we're focusing on blocks. Like, no, the only person that can really tell you what your blocks are is the person reflecting back to you that you're projecting on. Okay. So when I walk up to Jerry and say, Jerry, why don't you want to be in a relationship with me? Jerry's going to reflect back my block. That's fine. But other people, they're not going to. But I wouldn't even go with focusing on them doing that, because again, now we're just focusing on blocks. We need to start focusing on what we actually want and not trying to figure out what's stopping us from it. Because as soon as you declare, this is what I want, the important things will show up. You'll hear your thoughts, or the person will tell you. And that's what we need to be focused on, is what's not matching up in our reality, instead of going to look for, you know, in other places when it's really just in us to begin with. Now, one thing I want to say is, everyone's you pushed out. in your quantum bubble, you can be a psychic because you create everything in your reality. So let's go with that. So no hate on psychics. We love them to death, right? But I could be a psychic in my reality, right? And so can Carol, because everyone's her pushed out. Everyone's me pushed out. So, I mean, I create all the time things that happen. I can predict my future, tell you what my future is. I'm creating it. But I could also create what Jerry's future is going to be because he's me pushed out. So I can create that, right? But
yeah, well, in that case, I'm kind of a psychic in my house because my boyfriend is always telling me, "How come you always like everything you say is gonna happens?" And here I am because I'm intending the whole time. He's like, "You're always right." I love it when you say that. I love it. I love it when you say that.
Because you're psychic. You guys are all psychic in your own realities, right? Now, I mean, so there's nothing wrong with psychics and tarot card readings. I think just where it comes to is sometimes, we put too much into it. Now, I never like to see someone say, well, this is what the psychic said, so this is how it's going to be. And, the thing is, though, is the only message we want to get across is that you're the god of your reality. You create your future. You don't need to create what somebody else says is going to be your future. I remember I had a palm reader back when I was in my 20s say I was going to have 2 kids. Well, I'm 41. I've got 0 kids. So I'm sorry. I'm like, wow. It's supposed to be my pawns, so I mean, maybe they're coming, maybe they're not, but you know what, I mean, and I was supposed to have a near-death experience at like 35 too. That didn't actually happen. So, the thing is, right, is you are the creator of your reality, and not knocking these things, but don't say, okay, well, they're going to say this is going to happen, especially if it's not something you want. Don't reaffirm it. Don't believe it as true, because everyone is you pushed out. They're going to say what you want them to say. They're going to reflect back, just like everyone is you pushed out. So they're not, they don't know something you don't know, right?
Exactly. That reminded me that I actually had a palm reader tell me that I was going to have 2 boys, and I am 40 and I only have 1 girl. And that's it. So,
Right.
and I remember that I actually created her. I wanted her. When I found out I was pregnant, I actually pictured her in my head. And I remember telling the doctor I had a dream and I pictured my daughter with blue eyes. And she said to me, that's genetically impossible because your husband and you both have brown eyes. So she went into this genetics class and I told her, like, I just had a dream and I actually would picture my daughter looking that way. And I promise you, she is 9 and she has the prettiest, biggest, bluest, greenest eyes you could possibly imagine. Nobody knows how that happened because I have brown eyes. My ex-husband has brown eyes. Nobody has blue eyes, but I imagined her that way. I created her that way. So I didn't have 2 boys and I had a girl it was genetically impossible for me to have a blue eye baby. And I got it.
And you got it. You got it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, I mean, me personally, right? I mean, I'll throw it out there. What I like, because I've got a friend that does tarot cards. What I like about it is I like intending and seeing the card that I'm intending, or intending that they're going to say what I want. And I use it as a way to remind myself that everyone is me pushed out and that I do create and have that magical manifestation feeling. I do use it for that, which I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Some people I know use tarot cards to say, well, I intend that the tarot cards tell me this and then I'm on the right track. And they make that mean it's a sign that they're on the right track, and great, no problem, I mean, but just remember that you're the one with the power. And and if you got, say, a card reading that you don't like, you can easily discard it and say, no, that's not what's going to show up, and know that it was only because you've created it, right? So I think it's more about just reminding you guys that you guys are the one with the power, and that nobody can tell you your future. Nobody can tell you anything, because you create it. So you're either going to get what you intend to get, or you're going to get the assumption that you've got. Like, I know, for instance, I've got the assumption that psychics can never tell me my future because I do, and then they never do. Like, they just don't ever get it right because I have that assumption. Do you know what I mean, right? So again, you create that. But I mean, again, I used psychic. There is a friend of mine, she's in the business group thing, and she's got like the store, and yeah, it's great to talk to the psychics again. For myself, everyone is you pushed out. Why not, get them to say what I intend them to say? And then I'm like, check, manifestation still works, like,
Prove your power.
Improve your power, use it as one of your little mini manifestations, right? If you're going to use them, So again, not knocking it if you do tarot or psychics, but, I think the biggest message here, actually, the biggest message is, don't let those things take away your power, because you're the creator of your reality in your quantum bubble, and nobody can tell you what your future is going to be, what what tomorrow is like, nobody can do that, that's
Exactly.
you.
I love
Yeah.
I love that angle that you explained it, to use it to just prove your power. I've never thought of it that way. So that was
Yeah, I
awesome.
mean, yeah, why not? You go in there and then you intend, like, like they're going to tell me this, they're going to tell me that, Jerry's going to propose to me, and then use that as a sign that it's going to happen. Use that as an assumption to make a bridge of events, right? There's nothing wrong with using it that way. I mean, that's great. Love it. People do it all the time. They're like, oh, that's it. If I see a blue ball today, Jerry's proposing to me, right? Okay, sure. I mean, use the circumstances to your advantage. Right now, people. Right now.
Yes,
Everything
that's
going
my
in.
motto. That's my motto. Use what you see in front of you and
Right.
make it work for you. That is my motto with all my clients. I think they get tired of hearing that all the time, but that's what you got to do.
Well, here's one, right? So, and this is a common one. People always say, oh, well, if they, for instance, if people get upset at you, it's because they're comfortable with you, or if people get upset or angry with you, it's because they love you. Like, there you go, right there. Right? Those are 100% using circumstances to your advantage, right? If Jerry hangs up on me, that means he loves me. Right?
Just don't hang up on me again.
Oh, you hang up on me 3 times in one day. We must be getting married soon.
I get it. You love me, but stop hanging up on
me.
That's hilarious.
But again, right, it's about what are you giving the meaning to the things, right?
Yep.
So again, when it comes to tarot cards and psychics, what meaning are you giving it? It's empty and meaningless. It's a manifestation of your own, and that's really honestly what it is. So yeah. I'm not even sure. What else are we going to talk about? I think that was about it, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So guys, just to recap, one thing I do want to say is, in the success story, she did turn it around in hours, and how she did that is she just dropped it and she went, no, everything's going to go back to normal, and she felt normal. Okay, she also did a little bit of distraction. She said, okay, look, it made some intentions. I'm going to go for a nap, and when I get up, everything's going to be back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't beat yourself up if things don't happen for you overnight. I'll be honest, in my, earlier years in my relationship, when there was like any disagreement, it could take me sometimes days to turn it around. But now, I mean, I've turned it around within minutes so much, it doesn't even faze me anymore. It's like 2 seconds later, it's turned around. So you get better with practice at things, and every time you turn something around really quickly, it'll get quicker and quicker. So if it hasn't happened within hours for you, don't think you're doing something wrong. Again, you're never doing anything wrong. Everything's always working out for me. I have 0 blocks and resistance. I am going to get what I want. I always get what I want. My relationship always works out for me, and again, tarot cards, psychics, you are the creator of your reality. It's a manifestation on its own, and it's empty and meaningless, and and keep it looking at it that way. As well as, if you do want to get an apology, if you shift into that apologetic state, drop the resentment and the hurt, then the other person is automatically going to feel that, and then you can intend and manifest an apology from that standpoint. So
exactly. It's awesome.
Amazing, Carol. Amazing. Thank you so much for being here. I recapped all that really well.
Everybody.
And guys, thank you for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And if you would like to ask me, Amanda, a question, please sign up at the Patreon, ask the questions there. I actually don't moderate the YouTube comments. So if you ask me a question in the YouTube comments, I'm probably not going to see it. So because I don't check them constantly, because we do have a team that works on the social media here. So definitely sign up at the Patreon and ask me the questions there. And guys, we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.